Our topic for today is all about indoor recreational activities. We will tackle specifically the sport Scrabble. So first, let's define Scrabble. It's a word game in which 2 to 4 players, so it could be two, three, or four, score points by placing tiles, each bearing a single letter, onto a game board divided into a 15 by 15 grid of squares. The tiles must form words that, in crossword fashion, read left to right in rows or downward in columns and be included in a standard dictionary or lexicon. So, self-explanatory, you will make words dun sa board, no? Na kailangan akma dun sa format din nung board. It can be horizontal, vertical, as long as the spelling and the word is right. So, game details. The game is played by 2 to 4 players on a square game board imprinted with a 15 by 15 grid of cells, as mentioned earlier. So, the cells are also called the squares. Actually, it's commonly called as squares, not cells, each of which accommodates a single letter tile. In official club and tournament games, play is between 2 players or occasionally between 2 teams, each of which collaborates on a single rock. So there are times that there is a 2v2 match, or in some sports it is called tag team match. But the difference is you will have a single rock, or in the start you will just have 7 letters. The board is marked with premium squares, which multiply the number of points awarded. 8 dark red triple word squares, 17 pale red double word squares, of which one the center square is marked with a star or other symbol. So, what is the significance of star? Dito kasi kayo magsisimula. 12 dark blue triple letter squares and 24 pale blue double letter squares. So, naka-attach din doon yung kulay and yung multiplier nung score. In 2008, Hasbro changed the colors of the premium squares to orange for triple word, red for double word, blue for double letter, and green for triple letter. But the original premium square color scheme is still preferred for Scrabble boards used in tournaments. Okay, so what are the materials used or materials needed in playing Scrabble? Number one, of course, the Scrabble board. Next are the Scrabble tiles, in which every letter has its corresponding points. The points there are based from the frequency of usage of the letters. And Scrabble rack, and last is the Scrabble score sheet. Actually, you can improvise your own score sheet as long as the points are credible. It's between you and the agreement between your family members or whoever your players are. So we'll go to the history. In 1938, the American architect Alfred Butts created the game as a variation on an earlier word game he invented called Lexico. The two games had the same set of letter tiles whose distributions and point values Butts worked out by performing a frequency analysis of letters from various sources, including the New York Times. So, as I said earlier, yung score nung letter ay nakabase dun sa kung gaano siya kadalas gamitin. So, kapag rare lang gamitin, mas mataas yung points. The new game, which is he called Chris Crosswords, added a 15 by 15 game board and the crossword style gameplay. He manufactured a few sets himself but was not successful in selling the game to any major game manufacturers of the day, no mga panahon na yon. So, sa unang salta ng Scrabble sa game world ay hindi ito naging mabenta. So, let's go a decade after. There is a new significant person here, which is James Bruno, a resident of Newton, Connecticut, that is in United States, and one of the few owners of the original Chris Crosswords game. Bought the rights to manufacture the game in exchange for granting bots a royalty on every unit sold. Although he left most of the game unchanged, Bruno slightly rearranged the premium squares of the board and simplified the rules. He also renamed the game Scrabble, a real word which means to scratch frantically. So una, Lexico talaga yung pangalan ng Scrabble, and then etong 1948, nagsimula yung kung ano man yung alam natin na pangalan ng game na yun, which is Scrabble. In 1949, Bruno and his family made sets in a converted former schoolhouse in Dodgington, Connecticut, a section of Newtown. They made 2,400 sets that year but lost money. According to legend, Scrabble's big break came in 1952 when Jack Straus, president of Macy's, played the game on vacation. Upon returning from vacation, he was surprised to find that his store did not carry the game. He placed a large order, and within a year, everyone had to have one. So, let's go in 1952. So, yun nga, kay Jack Straus. Pero ito, merong company na involved. In 1952, unable to meet demand himself, Bruno sold manufacturing rights to Long Island-based Selchow and Writer, one of the manufacturers who, like Parker Brothers and Milton Bradley Company, had previously rejected the game. So, nung una ni-reject nila, pero nung na-offer ulit sa kanila, si Selchow and Writer lang yung bumili. Writer licensed the game from entrepreneur James Bruno in 1952. According to him, it's a nice little game. It will sell well in bookstores. Kasi nga ano siya hindi siya yung laro na may physical contact. So mostly intellect yung gagamitin dito. Kaya nasabi siguro na it will sell well in bookstores. She remembered saying about Scrabble when she first saw it. In its second year as a Selchow and Writer product, nearly 4 million sets were sold. So, nung kung napansin nyo nung nakaraan, 2,400 lang nabanggit ko, hindi pa mabenta. Pero, nung napunta siya sa Selchow and Writer product, 4 million sets yung nabenta. So, nararamdaman na natin yung pag-usbong ng Scrabble. Hindi ko alam kung anong marketing strategy ang ginamit nila rito, pero kung ano man yun, effective siya. Kasi from 1,000 naging million, no? So, 1972, we'll go 1972. Selchow and Writer bought the trademark to the game in 1972. J.W. Spear began selling the game in Australia and the UK on January 19, 1955. In 1986, Selchow and Writer was sold to Coleco, which soon afterward went bankrupt. Hasbro purchased the company's assets, including Scrabble and Parcheesi. So, itong si Scrabble, nagpapasa-pasa ng company kung sino yung mag-aalaga sa kanya at magpapa-multiply sa kanya para maikalat itong laro nito. Pero yun nga, sa dulo ng history na nandito, si Hasbro yung nagpatuloy. In 1984, Scrabble was turned into a daytime game show on NBC. So, na-televise na si Scrabble. The Scrabble game show ran from July 1984 to March 1990 with the second run from January to June 1993. The show was hosted by Chuck Woolery. Its tagline in promotional broadcast was "Every man dies, not every man truly Scrabbles." In 2011, a new TV variation of Scrabble called Scrabble Showdown aired on the Hub Cable Channel, which is a joint venture of Discovery Communications Incorporated and Hasbro. So, well-established na si Scrabble sa panahon na to, no? And 2004 is a very memorable day kung tao si Scrabble, no? Because Scrabble was inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame in 2004. Okay, so punta na naman tayo sa rules. So, rule number 1, all tiles should be placed in a letter pouch, which is dapat hindi kita yung loob, or placed face down on the table beside the board. So, nakalagay sa pouch or yung mga tiles ay naka-face down, hindi kita yung letters. Ensure that the letters are well mixed and that players do not know which letter is in a particular spot. Kailangan hindi aware ang players kung ano yung letter na mabubunot nila. To determine who goes first, each player draws a letter. Kuha kayo ng isang tile. The player with the letter closest to A goes first. The blank tile automatically goes first. So, pag nakuha mo yung blank, automatic first ka na. Wala nang comparison pa. Ensure that you will remix the tiles before drawing letters. Para random talaga yung pagpili. Each player draws 7 letters and places them on his or her letter rack. So, yun na yung mga magsisimula na yung laban. There are 3 main steps to a turn. So, tatandaan nyo to for every turn. Ito yung gagawin nyo. So, play a word. You will think of a word na ilalagay mo dun sa board. Pagdating sa, kung gusto mo na mataas na points, papasok dun yung creativity mo or yung stock knowledge ng vocabulary mo kung ano ilalagay mo. No? Kasi syempre, i-consider mo yung mga triple word, double word score, triple letter score, no? Number 2, total the score for that word. So, kukumputin yon and draw the tiles to replace the tiles played. So, for example, kumuha ka ng, nilagay mo sa board ay 3. Pagkatapos mo ng maglagay ng letters or nung word sa board, kukuha ka ulit ng 3 dun sa pouch or kung saan man nakalagay yung tiles. Next, the first player must play his or her first word on the center square of the board. So, yun nga, yung kung nasan yung star. All words must be 2 or more letters long. Words are played either vertically or horizontally. Diagonal wordplay is not permitted. So, yun, vertical and horizontal lamang. And yung word dapat ay 2 or more. Play always moves clockwise. So, susundan nyo lang yung kilos ng orasan. Each player must play off of words already present on the board. This may involve changing existing words. For example, making the word play into player or by incorporating a letter into the word you are playing. You can place letters in both directions on a single turn. The letters placed must form complete words. Anytime 2 or more letters touch, they must form valid and legal words. For example, if you add an S to an existing word to make it plural and then build a separate word from that S in the opposite direction, you will get full credit for both words. So, isang tile lang yung nagamit mo pero nakuha mo yung 2 words na yun. Pwede yun. Kasi word pa rin naman talaga siya. Legit na word naman siya. No tile can be moved or shifted once it is played. Whenever a word is played, other players may challenge the word if they do not believe it is a real word or it is spelled wrong. According to Scrabble rules, players should agree before the game begins on the dictionary that they will. If you want to challenge an opponent's word, you must challenge it before the play moves on to the next player. If the challenge word is not legal, the tiles must be returned to the player's hand and that player loses the turn. Yun yung consequence. If a word is challenged and it is legal, the challenger loses his or her next turn. If multiple words are made in a turn, all words are challenged when one word is challenged. If any of the words are not legal, all tiles will be returned to their owner's hand and that player loses his or her turn. So may challenge dito pag sa tingin nyo hindi naman yun legal or legit na word. The dictionary should only be consulted if a word is challenged and should never be used before a word is played for verification purposes. Gagamitin lang ang dictionary kapag nagkaroon ng challenge. And kung ano man yung verification na kailangan dun sa laro. Situational to. So sa scorekeeping naman, one player should be elected as the scorekeeper. The scorekeeper should double check the tally for each word. Each letter tile has the value of that letter. Unless the tile is on a premium letter square, this should be counted at face value and totaled for the word. So kung hindi siya nakatapat dun sa mga multiplier, kung ano yung score na nakalagay dun sa tile, yun pa rin yung score niya. At maganda niyan, kukunin niyo yung player na credible talaga, yung kukunin yung scorekeeper. Yung malaki ang tiwala ninyo. So, paano mananalo? When one player plays his or her last tile and no more tiles are available to draw, the game is over per Scrabble rules. Any remaining tiles should be subtracted from that player's score. The player with the highest score wins the game. You may opt to allow each player one turn to attempt to play as many of his or her remaining tiles as possible. So, palaki na score. And then yung matitira sa'yo, ima-minus sa final score mo. Do you know that there is a Tagalog version of Scrabble? So, as in Tagalog talaga. Meron 28 letters. Sa Scrabble kasi 26 lang. Kasi di ba tayo merong NY at NG. Ang tawag doon ay salitaan. So, what are the differences of Scrabble and salitaan? Ito, papakita natin. Pointing system of letters. Kasi syempre meron mga letters doon sa English na madalas gamitin na hindi naman nagagamit sa Tagalog. Kung mapapansin nyo yung design ng board, yung sa salitaan pa diamond. Pero yung sa Scrabble, pa X. Yung mga multiplier, yung distribution ng mga multiplier, no? Magkaiba yung direction. Sa Scrabble, player with the closest to A or get the blank tile goes first. Nabanggit na natin yan kanina. Samantalang sa salitaan, kung sino yung pinakamatanda, siya ang mauuna. Because, sign of respect sa kultura natin mga Pinoy. Paunahin natin yung mga matatanda. Scrabble, players will take 7 letters to start the game. While in salitaan, players will take 10 letters, 5 vowels, and 5 consonants. So, 5 katinig at 5 patinig. So, in structure nung board, 15 by 15 sa Scrabble, samantalang sa salitaan, 19 by 19. And yun nga, dahil Tagalog ito, merong NY at NG. Sa Scrabble, wala. So yan, natutunan mo na ba ang sport na Scrabble? Pwede kang makipaglaro nito sa iyong kamag-anak, mostly sa kapatid, pwede isama mga magulang, mga kalaro na pwede nating gawin upang maibsan ang boredom na nararamdaman natin sa quarantine na ito. At pwede pang malinang ang vocabulary natin. Yan, maraming salamat. Kita-kits sa susunod na lesson. Ingat kayo.